Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Metacast. We are now back with season two. It's a big journey for us. I mean, we've had so many
Yes,
speakers joining us in the last couple of months, and we've grown. I mean, we're doing pretty well, and of course, it's been an excellent journey for us. How about you, Taza?
No, I've loved it. If you see to my left, we have all the guest speakers for season one, the beautiful faces. And we're looking forward to season two, where we, I guess, ramp up production, the quality, try to get people to understand what the metaverse is and the actual value it can provide across the spectrum.
Of course, reality it is, and we are progressing with more innovation, more conversations, and yeah, everyone's loving it. But today, okay, coming to the point, today we have an amazing guest with us, Beth Heddle. Thank you so much for joining us, Beth. And yeah, we'd love to know more from you. So tell us about yourself.
Amazing. Thanks for inviting me on. Basically, I work for a virtual store platform. We create virtual stores. It's called Imperia. And we believe we are powering the future of e-commerce. So we're working with luxury brands across the retail space predominantly at the moment, across the US, Europe, and beyond, to, I guess, improve brand experience, customer perception of the product and the brand itself, create communities, and I guess drive the most of the KPIs revolve around sales and driving sales. But there's a whole lot more to it than just driving sales. But I'm also a Web3 enthusiast. You'll probably see from my LinkedIn that I post a lot of content around AR. I think it's absolutely fascinating, and I'm delighted to be here.
Well, excellent. That sounds great.
Thank you,
And
Beth. Thank
we
you.
are excited
It
for the
sounds very
conversation today.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know, AR is going to be a massive entry point for the metaverse, Beth. So I think when it comes to the macro and widespread adoption, AR is the key pillars. But just going back to fashion, Beth, fashion's a massive, massive area, massive market for the metaverse. A lot of fashion brands are looking to trial and error their products within a proto metaverse environment at this point in time, whether that's Roblox, whether that's Sandbox, etc. Beth, in terms of brands looking to enter the metaverse, or those that have entered, how can they increase conversion amongst the people within these platforms?
So I think there's numerous ways of doing so. Now, naturally, the obvious form of a metaverse experience to take for a retail brand, fashion brand, would be a virtual store. And there are many of these in the metaverse already. But if a brand sets up a virtual space in the metaverse, it could also be embedded in their website, but let's just say it's in the metaverse. They're opening up whole new audiences, right? There are many different, far wider varieties of customer in the metaverse, but also there's far more personalization options when it comes to the products they show. So let's think about this. We did a virtual space with Lacoste just before Christmas, and imagine walking in to using kind of Google Street View type motion to walk into a virtual space. Now, as you go through, you've got products on your right and left, as if you were in, the real store. Now, imagine if this store was also connected to your account. You've logged in as a user, you're a Lacoste, maybe loyalty program member. It has personalized all of the products that you can see in 3D, but to your taste. So it knows that you always purchase t-shirts, you are female, you're in your early 30s, or it might not know your age, but it might be able to kind of have a good stab at guessing what it is. Now, if you then click on a product, you can view it in 3D. You can probably use AR to try it on. You can potentially, there's some sizing technologies that allow you to virtually fit that to yourself. But it knows the tech itself, the platform knows what you've interacted with. Now, next time you enter this virtual store, it can be far more specific and personalized to create a tailored approach. It can show you products related to the product you might have even gone so far as purchasing. Let's say you viewed a dress in 3D, you spun it around, you had a look at some customer images, some reviews. You then tried it on using AR. Maybe 0, 10 have a tool that allow you to do that. You looked in the mirror and tried it on. I think AR is pretty cool. But the product discovery phase is really enhanced in a virtual experience, right? And the personalized approach goes hand in hand with that. So imagine going into this virtual space in the metaverse from the comfort of your own home, in your own time, anywhere, right? And being able to explore products that are tailored to you, that the system knows exactly what you're looking for. You're able to read through reviews and order all it like a seamless checkout experience. You're going to have a far better experience than if you were to go onto their e-commerce site, have a look around, realize that there's no products in stock that you like, the reviews are pants, and you can't find what you're looking for, basically. And the approach is far less personal. I think the data that's provided, first party data is really vital in this day and age. Third party data with cookies and stuff is getting far harder to access. So brands need to utilize this opportunity to gain first-hand data. Now, the first-hand data they've gained from your experience, the fact you've walked around this store, they can see what you engaged with, see what you didn't interact with, can then allow far more personalized to your taste and your needs, because they know what you're doing, they know what you're interested in. Again, helping improve that experience and naturally kind of driving conversion rates. So I guess hopefully that answers your question. But overall, shops, stores in the metaverse, fashion brands stepping into the metaverse have a far more well, firstly, you can tap into different audiences, but they're creating a brand experience that's far more tailored to the customer. And in turn, that is going to drive retention and conversions, basically.
That sounds great. I mean, it's when you see from a tech standpoint and how the experience is built, it's extremely amazing. I'm familiar with something what Lacoste did in terms of Minecraft in one of the previous campaigns. So yeah, I think I do have kind of a recall in terms of what we're looking at. Beth, I wanted to understand from you, because of course it's great to see that we have tapped into the consumers perception of how they're seeing the metaverse. However, there's a community and building element to it, right? So as far as how you see the information revolving around the entire industry, that the daily active users are recorded less than expected. What do you think about that right now in terms of how we are in this space?
So I think there's two elements to this. One side, you mentioned community building. Now, part of the whole virtual reality space is to build a community, right? It allows you to interact with other fans. Let's say it is a fashion brand. Let's say I, as a hypothetical, Lacoste fan, can interact and engage with other Lacoste fans. I might be able to attend an event because I'm part of their loyalty scheme, where I can, further engage with other fans, but also maybe they do an exclusive preview of a product that's going to launch to the public soon that hasn't yet, and maybe they allow me to provide feedback before it's launched. So this kind of loyalty scheme side of things, and I guess making the customer feel even more special and exclusive, making it feel like a more exclusive club, is driving further loyalty and enabling the kind of creation of community, that I am firstly engaging with people of the same kind of on the same wavelength as me. We both probably have the same interests, given we like the same clothes. We have a common interest, the clothes we like, if nothing else. But I'm also able to interact and talk about why I love a product, why I don't like a product. Let's just say they are launching a shoe, right? I can give some feedback on the color or the style before it goes to launch. And I think brands can utilize their loyal customer base, the people that spend the most money, that are the most loyal, to they want to attract more of those people, right? Your most loyal customer base is spending the most money, and you want to attract more of that person, that kind of person, and therefore build a community of those individuals. Getting as much feedback as possible is really vital. But I think sharing that experience with other like-minded individuals is also really enticing and helping that kind of community building element. Now, you've mentioned the fact that you think there are, or stats show that there's less people in the metaverse than, hypothetically we hope there should be, I think that's a whole separate kettle of fish. I think that's down to the complex terminology that we go about using when we talk about the metaverse, Web3, metaverse blockchain. Mainstream public have no idea what these kind of terms mean. And I think, to be honest, I think it's up to brands. I think it's up to the brands to start entering the metaverse, creating these communities, and that's going to drive the kind of mass adoption.
Well, that's a good perspective. I think in terms of, you've rightly mentioned the layman audience is not able to understand where they should be engaging with. And I think it's good. It's good when you see something which is in terms of brand co-creation and how customers can engage with brands. I think it's very important that they take the right step in terms of understanding they want to communicate with the end users. I like that perspective, honestly, Beth. But yeah, I mean that's what we're trying. I think with the Metacast season 2, we are now trying to focus on how we can really create that answer for the end user, and on why they should be engaging with these campaigns and these projects, because it is a lot of work that is put into it. But how we can put the end value is one of the big deals. But yeah, I mean I like the perspective, Taza.
Look, the world outside LinkedIn, and people think the data you get from LinkedIn on Twitter is accurate of what the world thinks, and that's not true. The metaverse, people have no clue what it means in the grand scheme of things. Absolutely zero. They can't even define it into a sentence, for goodness sake. And we're trying to get them to understand what it means for different areas, different business areas, different industries. We had a conversation with a French startup the other day that was looking to integrate or create a system through essentially like a Google Maps integration, where you write the address of store, you get this 3D replication or digital twin of the actual store, and you're able to have a retail immersive experience. Now, I think personally that's a $1 billion idea. Whoever gets that right will win. Okay.
I do agree.
And it just relates, 100%. Just the question remains who, well and truly, and the timeline around that. The metaverse has a lot of applications, so even within this Google Maps application, you could have so many different types of store outside of fashion, right?
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
that means there's a broad spectrum of opportunities that other industries can tap into. Beth, my question is, the metaverse is vast, it's infinite, it is a digital universe. There's endless potential. What industries or should be looking into this at this point in time?
So I think you're right. I agree that we can't just rely on fashion to build this mass adoption, but I think the metaverse and virtual worlds in general pose far more opportunities than brands realize. So, for example, Oreo brand, the kind of chocolate biscuits, they launched Oreoverse. Tragic name, we won't go there, but they launched Oreoverse about a month ago, and effectively you went into it through Decentraland, and there were numerous games. You know how an Oreo is biscuit, cream, biscuit, basically. There were stacking games, and I mean, I think there could be far more components to this whole campaign for Oreo. What could they gain? Discount codes? Could they interact with one another? Could they create, enter competitions a bit like Nike Swoosh to maybe create their own flavor? But also, Walmart entered as well. They created some more product kind of exploration type games. Now, I question what Walmart's aim was with their campaign. I think, given that children and young people, potentially those actually in the game, aren't the main food shoppers in the household, they're not the ones doing the food shopping. What the aim was, is it so that the Walmart is trying to push products to the kids, so the kids then talk to their parents and say, Mom, Dad, I want these, or whatever? I don't know. But also beyond food, retail, automotive. Now, last night I attended Kia Europe's Sportage world premiere in the metaverse. They basically have launched a virtual showroom that's now available internationally, but it allows you to view cars the vehicles, interiors, exteriors, from all kinds of angles, from the comfort of your own home. You can do it on your phone. You can do it in the Engage XR app. So within the metaverse, and I think it's so the kind of face of retail or the automotive industry is changing. I know that obviously Porsche have launched some NFTs. We won't talk about the NFT drop. I think there could be mixed opinions on that. I also saw, I think it was Toyota. I literally just saw on LinkedIn that Toyota have launched in the metaverse too. But I think what it's enabling is it's enabling more kind of informed decisions for the consumer. So let's just say I need a new car and I'm looking around. I go onto the VW website, who actually VW are doing big things in Web3, not necessarily the metaverse, but Web3. I go onto VW, I go onto Volkswagen. Oh, sorry, that's the same one. I meant Vauxhall. Sorry, so VW, Vauxhall, and let's say I go to Kia. Now, in a Kia virtual showroom, I can walk around, I can explore product videos, from the cars. I can effectively sit inside the car and have a look all around me. I can see where things are in relation to the seats. I can look at, get a good idea of the spacing inside this car. Same with the exterior. I can literally turn the lights on. There's a control pad that allows you to control the lights of this car. I can see it in motion. Now, if I'm then to compare that experience with my experience that I've had with Volkswagen and Vauxhall, let's say, all I can see from, I've gained I've got some product videos, someone testing the car, but I've not got anything as immersive. And I have decided that now I do or don't need to go visit Kia's actual showroom showroom, because I have now made a decision based on what I've seen. But I think it's that brand, Kia and other brands kind of taking on this kind of tech are really standing out and making moves and have a competitive advantage. They really have a competitive advantage. I don't know if you've explored any of the other automotive brands in the space.
Yeah, I think we just had a conversation with someone who worked at BMW a couple of years back. So yeah, I think I particularly I would say I've seen more it with sports, because I've been following Nike, and I understand. I think it's one great thing that you mentioned. I think it's about it's about brand storytelling, and it's very essential, because if you are in London and if you go to the O2 Mall and then there's a Nike store on the ground floor, you probably see it's not an AR or VR concept, but you see that Nike has experimented a lot with gamification to create insights around their storytelling, and it's come to the fact that Taza and I, both of us, have a Nike augmented reality T-shirt. I got one for him when I was coming back from New Delhi. So I got one printed, and I was just at the store, and I was like, okay, they're printing some custom T-shirts, but come to think of it,
it is a normal T-shirt, but once you get the phone out, nope.
And there's this guy I call Kunal Gaur. He's an amazing designer based out of India. He's worked in a lot of industries around the US and the Europe. I think I love his work. But I just walked in the store and I just saw, okay, this guy has teamed up with Nike. I had no idea he's done something like that. I walked into the store, got my T-shirt printed, and I just scanned my phone over it. Apparently, the employees are looking at my face and they're trying to understand what the hell is this guy up to. He's been just putting his camera all over the T-shirt for about like 20 minutes. And even the employees at Nike did not know that it was an augmented reality T-shirt. And that's what I just called up Taza. I called up Taza and I was like, you know what? These people have no idea. I mean, that's the thing. It's about how much curiosity you can create with such tech, but people still have not experienced it yet. It's just that they're one step away from experiencing something that could be, that could probably change the way they perceive brands. And it creates so much intensity and familiarity with how you want to associate yourself with the brand. Because I wear only Nikes, but if I were to choose another brand, I would think twice, because I know I have been immersed into the story, not just by the storyline itself, but by so many things around me. And I think it's great, Beth. I think it's how we've seen brands, and I think automotive industry is something which we discussed. It's more about how you can use learning and tech to create the right amount of recall for the brand in the way the consumer wants it to. And
Yeah.
this is what immersive technologies can do much better than just social media or any conversations that we've probably seen in Web 2 spaces.
It's that emerging.
Yeah,
It's
of
that
course.
engagement. It's that engagement element, isn't it? Engaging, immersive, interesting. While it's also really novel. Still, people are still finding it absolutely fascinating. I think it's a great way of learning. I mean, the whole education system. Imagine, we won't go into it because we probably don't have time. But imagine being able to have a history lesson in the metaverse and literally walking through, you know, what it was like in 1705 or whatever year, you know, that they're looking at. But I think there are so many use cases, and for children especially, that could be so engaging.
Definitely. Beth,
Definitely.
I mean, of course, it's something which we all want to explore, but I think where we see the consumer perception as it how we you put it on YouTube or you put it on any other social media forms, which is Reddit, and me and Taza were just exploring for a while how things are going on right now. We see that there are a lot of questions. There's some issues that people have with the metaverse, in the phenomenon itself. I'm not sure if it's gamification or tech because I think that's completely fine as they experience it, but the metaverse is creating some form of an altered consumer perception which we might not be aware about. What do you think about this?
I think um, I think in order to kind of create a more accessible, inclusive metaverse, or like, I don't know, metaverse V2, whatever you want to call it, I think we need to, firstly, as we've already touched on, language. We need to be using layman's terminology to, describe things and make it more understandable. And it's effectively a new way of exploring products or whatever they're exploring, that just so happens to be in Web3 and the metaverse. But it's a new form of whatever you were previously doing, but just in a new setting. And I think the other thing is the tech, right? Not many people, or I'm sure there's a big market for it, but proportionally, not not much of the population can afford like a headset or will get a headset. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about some scent technology. So obviously you can't smell things in the metaverse, right? You can't smell things in the metaverse. Now, how do you create some technology that enables you to smell in the metaverse, but doesn't require you to purchase extra tech? Because no one's going to go and buy a headset that's got a scent that that allows you to kind of smell things, because we need to find ways of encouraging people to use to enter the metaverse in their kind of everyday lifestyle and not have to change too much. In order to get mass adoption, like, people won't go out of their way to do things. We need to find what, whether it's the iPhone 16 comes out with some scent technology enablement or something like that, but ways of using things we normally use day to day. And yeah, you catch my drift.
Yeah, I do.
But I think, yeah, the two main issues.
Definitely. I think, yeah, that's one thing which I can understand as well, because I also come from a brand and a marketing side of how things work. So I completely agree with you on this. I think there's this brand gap, how I put it, which has to be fixed. And once brands do that, I think the conversation and how we use these terms is going to make things more easier for the end user. And Mark Zuckerberg, you're listening to us. You know what we're up to. So I think it's more
Guys,
about
guys,
mass adoption. That's
I
up.
got just
I
let me.
know.
I
Yeah,
got
that's fine.
I got kicked out. I got kicked out of my room, and but that let me
Well,
tell you that
I
that's
said it.
just a
I said it.
representation of how early we are in the metaverse.
Yeah.
The number one market player that has a trillion issues every time they bloody update the system. Uh, I'm furious, but I can't. It's just a representation of how early we are in space.
Beth,
Right?
that's why I think it's about how we. I think it's a very simple thing that even though there are so many glitches, people like us just try to make value and we create value out of these and these platforms. I think that's what a lot of users need to understand, and a lot of people can understand that when they engage with brands and projects like yours, that's where they have the ultimate opportunity to create content and create opportunities for themselves, which are very different from what other people are currently experiencing. So they have that one opportunity that makes everything different from them, and that's what the metaverse is. So I think it's a very simple way of how we define. But whenever I see a couple of podcasts, not to say brag about it or say anything wrong about it, but I don't get it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's keep it clear. Let's keep it simple. This is what it is, and that's what we want to do with this season. We want to keep it crystal. We want to keep it easy. And I think, Beth, from your point of view and what you've spoken about,
Yeah.
I think people will want to understand what you've gone through, and I think it's extremely essential that they engage with you and they understand with you what you understand of it, because you're a digital native as well, if I'm right.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
Beth, you've simplified the concept of what the metaverse is. Anyone that tunes in will be able to understand what the metaverse could mean for them, and that's the message we're trying to relay across. So, Beth,
yeah,
thank you.
and
Definitely.
it's good, definitely. And that's one thing. I think it's one thing which we want to say for this season now. Every person you speak to is the consumer and the user of the metaverse. And I think that's how the conversation should change, because when we talk about tech, I think we have to be so easy and so easily convincing that it's just that every person you speak to, apart from LinkedIn, is a consumer. So yes, that's what we need now. And Beth, I think once again, thank you so much for these insights. I think this session was extremely concise and to the point when it comes to understanding brand perception and consumer adoption. And yeah, of course, welcome to the Metacast family. And you're the first person who's joined us for season 2. So
You'll be part of
congratulations.
the network, Beth.
Yeah.
Perhaps an NFT. You might get an NFT drop soon of all the guests, and that gives you like access to all the other guests at some point, maybe in spatial, maybe in another proto metaverse. But Beth, welcome to the family.
Thank
Yeah,
you. We'll
of
build a
course.
community. Why don't we take into account what we've discussed, and we'll build a community of Metacast hosts?
Oh, we
That's
do.
it,
We do
that's it,
actually.
that's the
If
goal.
you, I don't know if you'll be able to see this right now, but we have a board where we have all the speakers out there. So there's everyone on that board right now, and they've been extremely helpful
It's
speakers.
growing.
You're gonna be on that board as well. So yeah, congratulations.
And I tell you something, Beth, the caliber of guests are getting higher. With the quality of people and interest across the board. And I tell you something, we're not far from Mark Zuckerberg or Gary Vaynerchuk being on this podcast. Maybe it's season 4, season 5, but I swear to you, we're on the right trajectory. Some of the guests that are interested are just, it'll blow your mind away. And I think
Yeah, of
having
course.
those on anyone's network is valuable.
Definitely.
So Beth, thank you. Anyone
Once
tuning
again,
in?
Beth.
Likewise.
This will be the best metaverse podcast in the world. I guarantee you. We have amazing plans. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, guys. Thank you so
Stay
much,
well.
and
Thank you.
see you guys soon.
Cheers.
Thanks for having
Bye-bye.
me on.